I'm 𝗕ance Scaramucci, and welcome to Open Book, where I talk with some of the most interesting and brilliant minds in our world today. So joining us now on Open Book, 𝗕cie, an award-winning journalist, a podcast host, and author, somebody I consider a friend. It started out rough for me.
Rough.
With 𝗕cie. She likes to do that to people. She was lighting me up on a social media formerly known as Twitter, now known as X.
You deserved it.
We became fast friends after we got to know each other.
You came up to me and said, I didn't have my glasses on, and this small man was running at me, and I thought, oh, this is the end. And there you were. You're like, you're funny, you're obnoxious, you're funny, and I was like, fair.
I said you're charmingly obnoxious.
Yes,
I
believe so.
I definitely used the word charming because you are
obnoxious
charming.
Was in there.
Obnoxious was in there, but charmingly obnoxious. But this is a fantastic book because it's first of all, people should read this book. The book is called Burn Book, a tech love story. They should read the book because you're a brilliant writer, but it's also opening up a window into a world that we can really only see superficially without the likes of 𝗕cie. So I love the book. I also love your writing style. I actually think we grew up quite similarly, which is a little scary in some ways because we all have these little things that have happened to us that have affected our lives.
Sure.
But let's talk about the way you look at the world. Okay. So if someone said to me, 𝗕cie, I say, well, she speaks her mind.
Yep.
Incredibly honest. A lot of people don't like honesty in our world. They like petite mendacity so that they can smooth out the edges of what goes on.
Petite mendacity. Right? Yeah.
Mendacity,
petite,
right?
I like that.
These tiny little white lies so that we don't upset each other.
Right.
But you're coming at the people in a way that I grew up. Okay. So tell me why. And tell me how you developed that, and tell me why you're like that, because it's not usual, 𝗕cie. It's made you who you are.
Yes, indeed.
But it's not usual. So tell us that first, then we'll get into the book. Yeah,
I joke about obnoxiousness, but it's done very, very well for me, obnoxiousness. I think I just was like this. I think people are, I can't imagine you weren't like this as a kid, the way you are, right? I would assume you are similar to what.
Oh, I think this will probably horrify you. I feel like we are very similar.
No, but you and I are very. It doesn't horrify me. No, but I'm saying you are probably the way
you're willing to say the truth, even if it costs you something.
Right.
Even if there's consequences associated with the truth.
Yeah.
You're willing to say the truth.
So what were you like that as a kid? I was like that.
No, no question. I was always like that.
I think I was born that way. I think in a lot of ways, and I think it served me well, and it just was like that. I didn't have an ability. It's not like I don't have a filter. I don't say personally cruel things to people, but, and I'm not, interestingly, I don't often comment on people's looks or anything else unless it has a point. Right. When everyone's sort of dunking on.
Well, you did just call me little. That's okay though, but I am little.
Sorry.
It's okay. Well, that's okay. I'm sitting on a phone book right now.
I think it was descriptive.
I'm sitting on a phone book right now to talk to you, so I get it, but the camera.
I'm little. You're short. It was just I didn't have my glasses on, and this very short man was coming at me.
Just remember what your mother said, though. When you're short, not only do good things come in small packages, but there's more oxygen down here.
That's right,
Kara.
and we're smarter. That's why
all these tall people, the air is too thin for these people.
Yes. In any case, that wasn't meant as an insult. It was a descriptive. But
I love it.
But I just was this way, and I think maybe it had to do actually with my height. I was very pugnacious. I always spoke my mind. I think probably some of it had to do with being gay because I was very irritated that you couldn't talk about yourself, and I was quiet about that for far too long. Not that long, but compared to most people, but far too long. And I think it just was like, I didn't see any sense in not saying what the stakes were or what was going on. It didn't make sense to me to be quiet at all.
Well, listen, I have, obviously more, and everyone does. I have many gay relatives, and my message to them always is get out early.
Yeah.
And express yourself for who exactly you are so that you don't have any level of anger for not being able to do that. And if people don't like it, too bad, you know, and
but there's a price. Anthony, there used to be a price, right?
No,
a long time ago.
let's not kid each other. There is still a price.
100%.
The question is, do you want to even be associated with the people where there is a price? That's the thing.
Right. But there really was one way back. Now there's ways to live now that are, I have 4 kids. I don't live in the shadows. And I think when you and I were coming up, you lived in the shadows. So maybe that was it. I don't know. I just think I'm this way. I was born this way.
My chief of staff that runs 𝗖𝗺𝗫𝗄 came out at age 17 in the town of 𝗕ance. Where Long Island. So this is all vigorous Irish and Italian macho men. And, he's my chief of staff. I'm very proud of him because I've known him since he was a kid. And him being able to express that has made him healthier.
Yes, that's correct.
And I, have a nephew also that's gay, and I'm very proud of him as well. I mean,
but it's not just that. It's being saying what you think makes you healthier. You're just saying that. You just are. You don't. The anxiety doesn't build up. You're not trying to figure out what to say. And I always say, it's easier not to lie because then you don't have to keep track of everything.
Ed Koch used to say, "You're not going to give me the cancer. I'm giving you the cancer." By telling you exactly what's on my mind.
Anyway, sorry.
All right. Well, why is the question I have for you? You have asked the word why since you were a little kid. Why? Were you always a budding journalist?
In a way, I guess it was. I wanted, as I wrote in the book, to be in the military, which I couldn't, again, because I was gay at the time. It was not allowed. And that I was the age when you would join. My dad was in the military. I had great reverence for the military, but I couldn't serve. I thought about going in the CIA or the State Department, mostly intelligence, and it was limited. If there's a really great show called Fellow Travelers on, I think it's Hulu, about gay State Department officials, etc. And it was too much, and so I moved to reporting. I don't think it's unsimilar. What you're doing is, I really was going to be an analyst. I was going to collect information and then render an opinion about something, like here's all the data I've brought in. I know these people. This is what I think is going to happen. This is a recommendation I make. I think I do that as a reporter quite a bit. Same thing.
At Georgetown, you were extremely focused on Nazi propaganda.
Yeah.
You talk about the book of how fear. This is something that Joseph Goebbels said, right? The big lies, but also finding scapegoats, but then exaggerating fear.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a quote unquote crisis at the border. A lot of my white, very rich friends are super upset with it, but how has it really affected them?
Not at all.
They can't tell you. But this is something that you focused on at Georgetown. Tell us why you did that, but then also tell us why it's so apropos to the world that we're living in today.
Oh, I mean, propaganda is, and there could be good propaganda, by the way. It's been used to, get citizens going in a war or whatever, typically in a war. There can be good propaganda in some fashion, but a lot of it's used in a negative way, which is to try to demonize people, try to reduce what is like the border is a complex situation, but it being complex is not what people, that's not what makes people vote. They need a reductive answer. They need this is a crisis, and it's often born in fear. This is coming for you. Antifa's coming. There was one town in Illinois or Indiana, I think it was, who on Facebook that was convinced that this Antifa was coming for this shitty little town in Indiana. I was like, anything that will make people fearful works really well. And you have to exaggerate it. You don't just have to exaggerate it. You have to repeat it over and over again, because if it's very simple in black and white, people can take a side, a team or whatever, which I think people are used to. If it's nuanced, it gets confusing. And it also means there's no really good answers. And people seek answers, especially from their elected officials, when in fact, there aren't any. There's some problems that are going to be there for quite poverty is a good example of that, So it is a complex, it's a bad situation at the border, but often I do, like, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, cities are so dangerous. And I was like, have you ever been mugged? And they're like, no. I said, so in your life, you've never been mugged in a city? So is it, it's dangerous if you're in the wrong place at the right time or the right place at the wrong time or whatever. But people have a sense of it that's much more, and they take incidents and they think it will affect them because people are basically narcissistic in general. And so I think into these breaches, lying politicians, mendacious politicians like to slip. You know, I mean, of course, Trump is the greatest example of that. What a propaganda master he is.
No, he's very, very good at it, and he's very, very dangerous. And we'll talk about him in a second. So, you know, your book is great, and I'm not just saying that because we're friends. I learned so much about in the book, but you write like a fiction writer. I'm going to explain to you why. Good fiction writers are able to explain to other human beings themselves. Yeah. And they can explain the human condition quite well. And I'm gonna read something to you, and I want you to react to it. Okay. And so you were talking about your stepdad, and he took the house my dad was so proud of and sell it. He also gave away my father's dog, a basset hound named Prudence. Erasing all those parts of my father seemed a weird flex on my mother, whose own life had gone off the rails so abruptly. Did not resist. He provided a very comfortable upper middle class environment and then ruined it with a cavalcade of casual cruelties. Yeah. Okay. So another remarkably honest, very, very refreshing, by the way, because we've all had various traumas in our upbringings that have challenged us and maybe even shaped us and been a strong bow for the arc of our arrow. But describe that upbringing, if you don't mind. Well, I think it's beneficial for people to hear it.
The key moment in my life was my dad dying when I was 5. He was just out of the Navy. He had gotten a great job at Brooklyn Jewish Hospital, first big thing. So he used the money, big salary. You know, he had a Navy salary for most of his life. And he came from very modest background. His mom was a school teacher. His dad was a surveyor. So it wasn't poor, but it wasn't like, you know, here's all the money. Grew up in West Virginia, and the Navy paid his way through college and medical school, and then he served, and he got out, got this great job, and died. Like he had 3 kids, and then just died from a cerebral hemorrhage. And you know, that was a huge jarring moment in my life, and my lives of my brothers and my mom. And my mom quickly got married, about a year or so after he died. And I get it. And the person she married was I don't know what else to say. Sadistic, I guess, because or jealous of my dad's memory. I think it's not that hard to figure out. It obviously insecure, deeply insecure, and took it out on us. And it wasn't hitting. You know, there's lots of ways to do things like that. And I think what he did is, we lived in very nice surroundings. He was an entrepreneur, by the way. Taught me a lot about entrepreneurship. Created his own companies, which was, I guess, laudable. But was very always seemed to want to do the cruel thing. And when I say casually cruel, it was things like the dog, which I think is very cruel, or selling the house up. I moved so much as a kid. That's such a hard thing to do when you're a kid. Yes. He was constantly redoing houses. Just a constant state of restlessness that then we had to live with. Also, you know, he did all kinds of things. You know, I don't want to go into a lot of them, but they were all like aimed at us. And I don't know, I think it wasn't aimed at us. I think it was aimed at like testing you. You'd leave a light on upstairs and you'd get downstairs and he'd wait until you were downstairs and said your light's on upstairs and you have to go upstairs. And I get lesson learning. I get, you know, I have 4 kids. I try to teach them to say please and thank you and turn off lights and things like that. But instead of raising you, it was testing you. And I don't think you should test kids. I just don't. I think it's a wrong way to raise children. Yeah. I
mean, listen, I had my trials. You know, my dad was a rough guy, blue collar worker, and he was very rough and very traditional, old school Italian. So I'm not bringing it up to revisit pain. I'm bringing it up because the way you write about it is so real, which enforces the authenticity, frankly, of the later chapters in this book about how you deal with people.
Everybody has trauma. And I think the reason I think it relates is like a lot of these tech people have trauma. Obviously, Elon Musk's talked about it extensively. I don't think it's an excuse for behavior, you know?
No. Definitely
so that's what I'm saying. I had
if anything, you have to get over it and you can't blame anybody. You have to be accountable, particularly as an adult.
Right.
So this is something I've learned. My sons, actually, I have two two adult sons. I have 5 children, 4 boys, and a beautiful girl. And my 2 adult sons asked me a question on my 60th birthday.
Wow.
That I'm going to ask you. They said, well, what have you learned in the 60 years? And I said, well, I got to tell you, money is very crazy for people. It's almost like that drug commercial when we were kids, Car. You know, the egg. They say, here's the egg, and they open the egg, and then they put the egg in the frying pan. This
is your brain on drugs. Yeah.
Brain on drugs. That's your brain on money. These people, for some reason, they didn't grow up right, where they think they're better than you.
Yes.
Because they have more money than you. Hey, pal. Right. You got born a certain way. A lot of luck is involved in this. You know that as an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneurial journalist. If I go left, right, left, I'm worth $1 billion. If I go left, 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 I'm worth no dollars. A lot of things happen in life.
Agreed.
That are serendipitous. So why don't you take a chill and, get your ego down to the size that it deserves as a result of your mortality, which is equal to everybody else on the planet.
Right.
And so what's your view of that? You agree with that?
Yeah, I do. Death is it streams through this book. Obviously, it starts when I was young.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, I think my awareness of death was learned very early, like that the ephemerality of things. And I think that also made me still like, I got to say what I think because I don't got a lot of time. And I think, and it was stressed by, my grandmother who, she was full Italian. When I'd say, oh, I'm busy, she's like, the graveyards are full of busy people. Like she'd always, and that was a good lesson. It was like, I'm coming up there. You're right. Like with this ridiculous, the idea that you have unlimited time was not something I had the luxury of feeling. So it was stressed in me, including, when I had a stroke, it's a constant reminder. I'm not particularly religious, but there's someone reminding me constantly of the time frame I have. And I think probably it's why I have so many kids. I think it's why I work so hard. I think I know I'm very aware of time. And I think many people are not. Now with the wealth thing, again, it doesn't really matter because there's also a quote by Woody Guthrie, no matter how you struggle and strive, you never get out of this life alive. Right. And so I'm very aware, like, you aren't better because you've assembled a giant pile of money. You're better for other things, perhaps. Maybe you solved cancer or you built, I was just in Grand Central Station and, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis was really the critical.
She saved it.
And I thought, what a legacy. It was so beautiful. All these people bustling through. And I said to the person I was with, I was like, that's a real legacy. She's gone, but here she is. Right. And I thought, that's the kind of legacy you want to leave, not a pile of money. Listen, or
she used all of her power and influence over the city and the politicians to save that. And look at it today.
It's beautiful.
It's now in the landmark. Thank God. I want to get to these billionaires. You talk to all of them. Okay. Bob Iger, Satya Nadella, Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, but you have fallen out, as you write about, with Elon Musk. Yeah. What do you think has happened to him? And I feel like when I'm reading your book, and I don't know Elon, and I'm not here to pick on Elon or anything like that, but I feel like he's almost like I feel like he's his own worst enemy for some reason. He's like, there's almost like a kill switch in there where he's trying to shoot his own foot off. Am I wrong? I feel like he wakes up in the morning and says, let me see if I can fire the shot.
I think he's deeply insecure. I think he's deeply narcissistic. I think he's troubled and never got fixes for her. I mean, I think he had a troubled childhood, but so did I. I mean, I think he's never gotten real help for his traumas and also his mental challenges, which he's talked about. He's obviously had some depression. He's talked about it. He's also talked about his use of drugs. I think he's probably medicating himself in a way that's probably not helpful. I think COVID did something to his brain. It did something to a lot of people's brains, right? There's a couple people who emerged from COVID quite conspiracy theory minded, moved to the right. Not that there's anything wrong with being conservative, but it's beyond that. It's something else. It's an expression of constant aggrievement, a constant victimization, and also that someone's out to get you. It's deep paranoia, like The Man or they're trying to get me. It's a witch hunt. All that stuff is all language of someone who doesn't live in the real world, right? That has this.
I I not only agree, I'll just add this story. I was with an African American woman this morning. She's a very accomplished hedge fund manager, and she's been in the industry in asset management for years. And she said to me, "I don't like Elon Musk." I said, "Have you met Elon Musk?" She said, "No, I've never met Elon Musk, but just the stuff that he says about the DEI,
right,
and the things that he said about Boeing." I'm an African American woman,
right?
That is literally, I'm 55 years old. I have worked my ass off.
Yeah, he's ill-informed. He's
ill-informed. And I've had to be 4 times better than the white males to get to where I am.
Right.
And for him to say that, well, maybe I got the job because I was black.
Yeah.
He's
making it up. He pushes racist tropes. He pushes anti-Semitic tropes.
I don't know why he's doing that, though. So
because
why is he doing that?
I don't know. He uses excuses of being, his demons, and it's like bullshit. Stop. Like, you're just a bad person. I think, why do you think Donald Trump's doing? He's just a bad person. Like, at some point we have to stop trying to figure out and just say, this is a bad and toxic person, and we need to limit their influence on our body politic. That's really it. I don't know what's wrong with Donald Trump. I don't know. Maybe his father was an assoul. It seems like it. Maybe his mother was retiring. I don't know.
He can't get over the lack of attention that his father delivered to him, a result of which he's going to take it out on the rest of us.
Except that, guess what? We all have our various problems.
No, I know, but I mean, it's just, there's a malevolence.
I don't know, but what I know is that it's toxic and it's impactful. And so, because he controls some space stuff, he's got, the cars are going to be more problematic for him on time because there's more competitors, but he's got an enormous amount of wealth. And so, it's often like that with really rich people. They just decide they know better. Look, I don't know if you're friends with Bill Ackman, but I know he's not an expert on DEI, and that he's just a rich guy who gave money to Harvard, right? I think that's what he did, and he just gets to talk about it.
Listen, I know Bill, and I do like Bill, but what happens is you get a lot of money, and then you think you're a genius in every category. This is why a lot of these billionaire sports owners, they don't do well with these teams. Dave Tepper is 1-15 with the Panthers, and every decision that he wants to make, he's making it. He's not allowing the football people to make it. Juxtapose that to Bob Kraft, who said, "Okay, you know what? I'm gonna focus on the real estate, the things I'm good at. You pick the football players, and let's see if we can win a Super Bowl."
It's hard because you have all these enablers. You've seen it, enablers around people that say yes, sir, or whatever. And they're just, I don't know. I was joking that at some point I was going to write a 90-part series on Twitter about hedge fund investing, about which I know nothing. The same amount he knows nothing about DEI. And so I just, I don't mind debate. I don't mind people bringing things up. It's just that when you get to a certain level of wealth, you have enablers around you, for one, that is very deleterious. And you never get challenged, right? And and then you think things that are that have nothing to do with what got you there. But that's classic. It's classic.
So let's go to TikTok for a second.
Okay.
Do you have a view?
Yes, of course. I've written about it quite a lot. Years ago, I wrote a piece in the New York Times that I thought it was the best app that existed. It had just gotten popular, but I used it on a burner phone because of the Chinese Communist Party. And I didn't have proof, but I'm like, why wouldn't they do it? Of course they'll do it. This makes perfect sense to me. And even for the safety effects, if they have access, they couldn't buy CNN. This Chinese company couldn't buy CNN, and it's decidedly smaller, right? Like by a factor of a lot. They couldn't buy CBS. They couldn't buy, you can't. It's a broadcast company. And so let's assume they're spying. Let's not. And I've talked to a lot of intelligence people. I believe they are. And they are obviously doing it elsewhere all over our country, within all kinds of systems. I don't know why they wouldn't do it here. Now, the company has denied it, and I get it. But every Chinese company I've covered has had meddlesome situation with the Chinese government. It's what they do. Yeah, and I just don't believe this is the exception. Why would it be? It's so good.
But it's also part of the culture. They feel they have to catch up with the West, and they
have caught up.
Remember things like the Boxer Rebellion and the Opium Wars, and they feel justified in doing it.
I guess whatever. They're just a power. I don't know why.
Should it be sold?
I don't know what to do with it, because if they're not going to give us the algorithm, because the algorithm will prove what they've done. More propaganda I'm more concerned with than surveillance. But you don't get the algorithm, and therefore you just get the users and the brand. I don't know if that's The algorithm is what makes this site, but they're not giving us there's no way we're getting that algorithm. And so what does that mean then? Then someone's going to have to rebuild it. It's a very expensive company. It's losing money, quite a bit of money. So it's going to be a heavy lift for someone to not recreate it, because I don't think it's going anywhere. It's just that it's not what you're buying. I'm not sure, what you're buying specifically. But we'll see. Yes, I think the government's we should not let them be here. Someone was like, well, free speech, this and that. And I said, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if we were in their country? None of our social networks are there. Why not have reciprocity? And then,
they'll never let that happen.
And by the way, guess what we do if we were in there? Spy. That's what we do. Hello.
No, of course we would. So that's why we can't stand on ceremony and be overly hypocritical.
Yeah. Well, now Trump's flip-flopped, right? He was sort of for it, and now he's against it.
But Trump's on the take.
That's correct.
They gave him some dough.
Yep.
And they said, okay, gave me dough. I'm going to change my tune. This is why the Jews don't understand this. He's going to annihilate Israel because he's got Putin and Iran. Putin's got a nosy to Iran, and Trump's got a nosy to Putin, and he's not going to care about Israel.
No, not at all.
These guys got to wake up to the transactional nature of Trump and the nihilism of Trump. He's going to wipe these people out.
Yeah.
I got a couple of more questions for you. I love the book.
Mm-hmm.
How does social media and tech impact 2024? The election?
Well, I'm more concerned with AI and the uses of it and the possibility of some very nefarious video editing, particularly. And little things like shaving off, Biden's certainly got an age problem. So does Trump. Making Biden look a little older by just a tiny bit, in videos, or say you you said someone was dead the day of the election, but put it out there. There's a number of things they could do. I'm still worried about election security, not in the Trump style, but in terms of hacking. We've sort of went a long way towards that, but I'm always worried about that. And of course, the ability to radicalize people has already worked. Before we had an information desert with people. Now we have an information flood, most of which is crap. And you see it, but it's already worked. You see interviews with, say, Trump supporters, and they're like, what if he raped someone? That's okay. What if he did this? That's okay. What if they did all those things? So it's already done. It's already baked. They're not going to suddenly go, oh yeah. So propaganda has worked. So I think we're already very deep into a cycle.
So this is a tech love story. Tech love story.
Yeah.
You're an optimist about tech. You're an optimist about
what
the future. Tell us about the future. Tell us why this is a love story.
Well, it's a future if we do things in a different way than we've done. There's been no regulation of tech ever, because right when they became ascendant, our political system deteriorated. So imagine if nobody stopped Standard Oil. Imagine if nobody didn't break up AT&T. That's the reason we have cell phones, is because AT&T got brought. That's a very simplistic way of doing it. But, if they have moved through the breach of our broken political system to become ungovernable. They don't have any regulations specific to them. Airlines do, pharmaceutical companies do, you do, Anthony. You're bound by rules. And some of them you're like, I hate that rule. But honestly, a lot of them are pretty good. And it keeps the market safe. Even like meat inspection, it's not perfect, but when people get sick, it's rare, not common. And there's no regulation against tech. So what's coming is a supersized version of what's happened before. And I'm worried that we don't have the correct guardrails in place for the quantum level of development in AI that is happening right now. And if we don't, it's going to change us and be run by unaccountable, ungoverned, unelected, unaccountable people, powerful people making decisions for the rest of us. And you see how that's turned out the first time.
So I not only agree with that, but I can take it back to Citizens United. And for those listening, Citizens United allowed for unlimited spending in the body politic.
Yeah.
And so the tech people unleashed that.
Yes.
These companies would have been broken up by Ronald Reagan, a great capitalist, Judge Harold Green.
Right.
They would have been broken up like Standard Oil. but they're not being broken up because they own the Congress. So this is a danger. It's a danger for capitalism, because when you get this level of monopolistic action,
that's correct.
It ruins customer service, and it also ruins pricing.
But it's a different thing. We haven't updated antitrust. Some of this stuff is useful and people like it. See, it's not the same. We have to really rethink our markets. And just because there's no price effect, there's an effect. So how should these companies be judged? And we haven't done the heavy lifting to do that. And again, I always use this example. Alaska Air blows one window and then 750 planes are grounded. People are fired. There's lawsuits. There's investigations. Meanwhile, teen girls are showing enormous levels of self-esteem problems. Teen boys and men are addicted to online porn. And again, I'm not everyone's mama, but everything else gets a look-see by the government, and especially in terms of data. And this doesn't. This just doesn't, just because we've decided. It's addictive too.
I appreciate you bringing it up, and I appreciate you writing about it, because hopefully at some point the tide can turn. I mean, I believe in America, and I believe in the adaptability of America.
It'd be better. It'd be better for, you're an entrepreneur yourself. It'd be better if there's
Teddy Roosevelt stopped it. We were here before.
Right. And the thing is, it's better for these big companies will hinder innovation. They will hinder development. If they run everything, there's no room for entrepreneurship.
No, it would have been $5 a minute for long distance.
Yeah.
Right now, here in 2024.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so I end these podcasts with 5 words. The book is a burn book, a tech love story. And so what I do, Kara, is I say 5 words.
Okay.
I ask the author to think of something that comes to mind.
Okay.
It could be a word. It could be a sentence.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, I'm thinking of the word power. You say what? I say power. You say what?
Unaccountable.
Unaccountable. Okay. All right. So that does happen with people that get power. Money.
Unaccountable. I think it's the same thing. Money, deleterious effects of.
Yeah. That's my observation at age 60. People go crazy with the money. Calm down.
After a certain point, you have plenty. And study after study shows that, by the way.
Relax. You're not going to, what are you going to do? You're going to prove to yourself you're better than somebody else?
Yeah.
You're going to be in the grave trying to prove that. Relax. Life.
Good. I have a good life.
Yeah. You see, you channel Woody Guthrie. I channel Mel Brooks. He always says, relax. None of us are getting out of here alive.
Yeah, but good. I have a good life. I feel good about what I've done.
Okay, amen. And God bless your children and your spouse, etc. I say the word technology. You say what?
Endless possibilities, endless danger.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a double-edged sword.
Yes, it's a tool or a weapon.
Okay, I say the last 2 words. Kara Swisher. You say what?
Badass. Badass. That's it.
Yeah. Charmingly obnoxious.
No.
Charmingly obnoxious.
She. I have a thing that I want to put on my gravestone. Although I'm getting cremated, so probably I won't have one. But I thought about it a lot, and it's I have it, and it's I use the correct punctuation, which is fun exclamation point, fun exclamation point, fun exclamation point, death period. Fun death.
Well, I love that, but I'll tell you this. I have to admit this to you now, okay? When you were writing and chiding me when I was the White House communications director, I was actually flattered by it because I was a fanboy of yours.
Well, I can't wait till you're back in the White House then.
See that? I only want 1 extra day. It'll make it an even dozen.
Yeah.
The title of the book is Burn Book, a tech love story. It's a bestseller from a legendary writer, Kara Swisher. And by the way, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
And I love the book.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to your next piece of work as well.
Thank you, Anthony.